Audio test, 1, 2, 3. Audio test. Just double checking that our YouTube broadcast is broadcasting the audio from the board hearing room. We've confirmed that the audio is going through Zoom and that we receive audio input from Zoom, but we're still working on YouTube. Okay, excellent. I've received confirmation that it's good. Thank you. And I do see a couple of additional hands raised on the virtual platform. I'm going to go ahead and call upon those attendees with their hands raised and ask if you would like to offer general public comment, multiple item commentary, or single item commentary. And I'll start with Carla. Good morning, Carla.
Hello, good morning.
Yes, good morning. Would you like to offer commentary on the agenda this morning or general public comment?
General, please.
Very well, I have you down for general public comment. I'm going to go ahead and put you back on mute and lower your hand. Miriam?
General public comment, please.
Very well. I have you down for public comment. I'm going to go ahead and put you back on mute and lower your hand. Currently, I have Adedale, Mona, Jill, Gigi, Georgina, Carla, and Miriam as having indicated that they wish to offer public comment and or multiple agenda item commentary this morning. If there are any additional attendees who would like to offer commentary, if you're here in the room with us, please fill out a speaker card located in the back of the room on the table. Indicate which item you'd like to speak on. And if you're joining us on the virtual platform, please raise your hand. I'll call upon you and you can indicate which item you'd like to speak on. It is 9:56 and we should get started with the board meeting in approximately 4 minutes. Thank you. President Kang, we are now in record mode.
Good morning, everybody, and happy Friday. Welcome to the regular scheduled meeting of the Board of Public Works for Friday, June 6, 2025. Mr. Knight, please take roll and establish quorum.
Good morning, President Kang, Vice President Chavez, and President Pro Tem Grant are present, and we do have a quorum. We are joined this morning by City Attorney Representative Adina Hoppenstein. Sorry about that. I'm TJ Knight with the Board of Public Works. President Kang, we have 7 public commenters on the Zoom platform and 2 multiple item agenda commenters on the Zoom platform. We have no one in the hearing room this morning to offer public commentary, and we have no neighborhood council commentary this morning.
Perfect. Thank you very much. We will now start with general public comment, which is an opportunity for the public to address the board on public interest items, and will be provided up to 1 minute per person, up to a cumulative total of 10 minutes for the general public comment segment of each regular meeting. Testimony shall be limited in content to subject matters which are within the jurisdiction of the Board of Public Works. The board may not take any action on any matters discussed during the public comment period. Since we do not have any in-person general public comment, we will transition to virtual.
Thank you. President Kang, before we get started on public comment, you mentioned informing the public and the staff members here of the continuation of the one presentation for item 3. Would you like to address that at this time?
Yes, for item 3, originally on the agenda, there are 3 presenters from our bureau heads. Mr. Keith Mosey, representing the Bureau of Street Services, has been continued to Friday, June 13, 2025, but we will proceed with both street lighting and Bureau of Contract Administration today.
Thank you, President Kang. And with that, we'll go ahead and get started with public comment on the virtual platform, starting with Audit LA. And you'll have 60 seconds to offer your public comment.
Good morning, everyone. I want to thank the city for giving us a permit, a First Amendment permit for a peaceful protest on Father's Day, this June 15th. It is going to be peaceful. It's going to be but just fighting certain injustices, like all the planters that was there all year that we had to come here for a year, and family separation and things like that. But I also just want to say that this harassment against me has really stepped up to the point where I am telling everybody that I am not suicidal. And, and that's a hard thing to say, because a church should not, a alleged church should not be making people feel unsafe. It's a protest. I get they may not like it, but it's peaceful and it's our right to have a protest, and nobody should be feeling unsafe. I should not be getting calls
you.
about, thank you.
And we'll move next to Mona.
Thank you, Mr. Knight. Can you hear me?
Yes, go ahead.
Thank you. To further on what Audit was saying about a peaceful protest, I would love to be able to at the protest. In fact, I'm planning on it. My problem is that there is no accessible parking. I'm going to keep harping on this because, one, it's against the law. It's a federal law. It's a state law. It's a city law that you need to have accessible parking. And there are no accessible parking spots on Catalina, Sunset, L. Ron Hubbard Way, or Fountain around the Scientology building. And that needs to change. Thank you, and I yield back my time.
We will move next to Jill.
Hi, I'm again thanking you for the permit on 6/15/2025. It's a very big concern that a cult is giving death threats and threatening someone, making someone feel like their life is threatened. The fact the city has emboldened this cult to continue to make these kinds of threats. Time to put your foot down, say no to the cult, say no to the fair gaming is what they call it. Also, dig up the bricks, because that was done by child slave labor. I thought child slave labor ended in slavery back in the 1800s, when before Abraham Lincoln became president. I just don't understand. It's disgusting. Bye.
And we'll move next to Gigi.
Yes, so I was listening to two former Scientologists yesterday, Nora Ames and Laura Anderson. They grew up in Scientology, and they both laid bricks in that road on L. Ron Hubbard Way when they were kids. If you want to look them up, they can confirm it themselves from the source. There was also adults there that could be classified as slaves that were doing that work too. That road needs to be ripped up, those bricks should be taken out, and you should repave it. And there should be the metered parking. There's no reason that there should be no parking on that road and no other road. Like every other road, there's parking on. So put in the metered parking after you rip up the bricks, repave it, take that street back for the city, and do some research into what child labor has been done there, especially with that road. Nora Ames and Laura Anderson, they put bricks in there along with other kids, and that's really messed up, and they should not be able to have the bricks there. We need to get rid of that road.
Thank you. And we'll move next to Georgina.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes, go ahead.
I am also calling about L. Ron Hubbard Way. I'm really excited about the protest coming up. Thank you again for that. I'm really excited the planters were removed. Thank you again for that. We're making progress, guys. We just need to keep letting you know how upset we are. And then you guys have the impetus to then hopefully go and do some changes for this. The fact that that street has no parking is mind-boggling to me. This is Los Angeles, guys. Parking is at a premium. Parking is valuable property. You allowed this cult to steal highly valuable property from our city by sneaking out at night and painting the curb red and putting their own signs up. We need to take back our street. We need to open it up for parking. Let's put meters in there. Let's turn this into a profit, guys. Thanks for all your hard work. Thank you. I yield my time.
And we'll move next to Carla.
Hello, good morning, everyone. Regarding the protest that all the callers have mentioned before, I would like to thank you for the permit. I also like to use this opportunity as much as I can to express the message. This is a protest, a peaceful First Amendment protest that's going to happen on Sunday, June 15, from 12 to 10 p.m. on L. Ron Hubbard Way. And this is for the first time our community has been granted a legal permit to gather peacefully and lawfully on L. Ron Hubbard Way. This is a chance to come together in solidarity to raise awareness, support one another, and exercise our First Amendment rights in the heart of our neighborhood. What are the themes that we are advocating for? Reconnecting families. As Audit mentioned and the other colleagues mentioned, Scientology does not allow families to be together if they are not in Scientology. The other thing is respect for disability rights, fair use of city services, open and accessible public streets, clear and honest communication, safe and respectful neighborhoods.
Thank you. And that's 1 minute. And we'll move next to Miriam.
Hi. I also want to thank for giving this permit for the Father's Day protest. I also want to let you in on a little secret. The anti-Scientology movement is a global movement. And when people have been saying that the whole world is watching, the whole world is in fact watching. I hope you could send someone from the Board of Public Works to see how the protest goes, because it's going to be a peaceful, loving protest, trying to reconnect families and protest against the abuse of Scientology. And if you cannot be there, you can always look at Audit LA's YouTube channel or go to fsciento.space, where you will find dozens of YouTube channels that will be streaming this event. That's all. Have a nice weekend.
President Kang, that concludes the public commenters who initially indicated that they wish to offer public comment. However, 2 additional hands have been raised during that allotment of time. Would you like me to see if they would like to offer public comment? And starting with Lurker. Good morning. Would you like to offer public comment this morning? You should be receiving a pop-up asking you to unmute.
Hello, can you
Yes.
hear me?
Would you like to offer, yes, we can hear you. Would you like to offer public comment this morning?
I would. I wanted to thank you so very much for giving us this opportunity to, basically take back our street, because that is our street. We are the citizens of the United States of America, and we have a right to our streets. Even though this corrupt corporation has tried to strong arm that street through, you know, their shady means, and they're being mean to people who try and ask them to be a good neighbor for years, decades. Neighbors on that street have been asking this board to please do something about them closing that street. And I'm glad to see that's happening, and I want to thank you so very much. You are making a huge difference in saving face for the city of Los Angeles.
Thank you, Looker. And that's 60 seconds. And I'll go next to Children's Voices Matter. Would you like to offer public comment this morning?
Yes, please.
Go ahead. You have 60 seconds.
Thank you. Greetings, everyone. I hope you're all having a great day. I just wanted to bring up that right now, as we're having this meeting, there are children in Scientology going through ethics handlings in which they may be assigned conditions of treason, conditions of doubt, and even conditions of non-existence. Imagine being a child being told that you do not exist, as well as 12 and 13-year-old children are giving adults touch assists, which by most means is a type of sexual abuse. And I just would ask politely for everyone to look into the Delphian Academy case right now of sexual abuse of children in Scientology. Thank you very much. I yield back my time.
And President King, that concludes public commentary this morning.
Thank you very much. With that, we will close general public comment portion of today's meeting and move on to multiple agenda item public comment. The board will provide an opportunity for members of the public wishing to speak on more than one agenda item during multiple agenda item comment period for up to a minute per item, up to a total of 3 minutes per meeting. This is the only time you can speak on more than one agenda item, and please identify the items that you will speak on when you are called. We will transition over to our virtual commenters.
Thank you, President King. We'll go ahead and start with Audit LA. Please identify which item you're speaking on.
Good morning. Excuse me. I think it's 1, 3, and 4. I don't have the agenda with me right now, but I would like to talk about like the bureau chiefs. I want to thank the bureau chiefs for I found a really good employee. I don't want to say a really good person, Lieutenant Timo Yanis. And I want to thank him, and I want the bureau chief to please acknowledge him, because the Church of Scientology did try to get a permit after they found out about our permit. They did try to get a permit to close the street down, and Timo did his job. He said, "No, we're not allowed to have conflicting permits. You're denied. The only way you can get one is if you have their permission." So Jennifer Krauskopf from Scientology asked him to set up a meeting with me to see if they could negotiate a way where we could coexist in our events. And he did that because he says he just wants safety, and that's his only care. And so I agreed to talk to them, but Jennifer and Susanna Furious, they never showed to the meeting, and it was a Zoom meeting. So I was able to have a nice discussion with Lieutenant Yanis, and he noted that, yes, we showed up to the table. We were trying to be peaceful. We're trying to be, to talk and to do what's right. And, but but at the same time, and I got to tell him everything, how they never pay attention to any of their permits. And he didn't realize that. So there's a lack of communication. And that's what I wanted to speak to the bureau heads about too, to really make sure that the communications are there. And maybe they could get a report from everything that we're doing at these meetings, because but I also, at the end of the day, since I feel that Jennifer gave us a huge gift by setting up this meeting, that wouldn't have happened if it wasn't for her. So I kind of think that maybe she's sending out a message that she wants to leave Scientology, because I can't imagine that she would have just given me a nice long time to talk to Mr. Lieutenant Yanis without her speaking out some kind of way that she wants help. I'll put that out there. So the other thing I want to talk about is the street improvement. And we've been saying a little bit now that we want the street repaved. I love like at first I loved the brick street. I just thought it was so enchanting and beautiful. But when I start realizing that people like, people I call friends, Laura Anderson, Nora Ames, and Liz Gale actually, as children, laid those bricks, I am disgusted by it. I go see it, and it almost makes your stomach churn that they are holding festivals on top of street that children laid, and that makes like I get very sentimental about it, and I'm very passionate about this, and it does need to be repaved. I don't care
Thank
if
you.
you want to put the brick down again.
Thank you, Adedale. That's 3 minutes, and we'll move next to Georgina. Georgina, go ahead. You have 3 minutes and 1 minute per item, up to 3 minutes. Please identify which item you are speaking on. Go ahead.
I also want to speak on the street beautification project. I don't remember which exact agenda number that is. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. I think it would be such a loving, beautiful tribute and heal so many wounds to have that street ripped up, repaved, a memorial plaque put up for the lives lost, the lives damaged by this cult. I think this is an amazing opportunity for the city to reach out and heal some wounds and to take action and to start the dialogue and to get this going. I can't imagine a more loving tribute than to tear out those bricks put in by child slave labor and repave that street, remove the red curbs, open that street up to the people. It's a direct access route to both hospitals in the neighborhood. It should never be closed. The fact that it's closed to parking makes zero sense in a city that is
Which item are you speaking on,
commuter-centric.
Georgina?
The street beautification. Street beautification. I would really love to see this street turned around and beautified. I yield back my time. Thank you.
President King, that concludes the attendees on the virtual platform who had previously indicated that they wish to offer multiple agenda item commentary. However, an attendee has raised their hand. If you like, I can see if this attendee
Yes,
would like to
please.
offer. Gigi, would you like to offer multiple item commentary this morning?
Yes, I would like to speak on all the items that they did, but I'll keep it very brief.
Very well. Go ahead.
Okay, so what they were saying is what I said basically in public comment. I'm not trying to redo my public comment and what I said, but I echo what they said. I implore you guys to research into the names we dropped. They are legitimate children that did labor on that road, and that's a sign of it. And, Nora Ames, Laura Anderson, Liz Gale, and there were adults that were classified as slaves. With that, I yield my time.
President King, that concludes multiple agenda item commentary this morning.
Thank you very much, Mr. Knight. No single item public comment either?
Not at this time.
All right. With that, we will close multiple item public comment portion of today's meeting, and we will move forward with the approval of minutes for Wednesday, May 28, 2025. Commissioners, any comments or questions? Seeing none, I'll move to approve the minutes for Wednesday, May 28, 2025, seconded by Vice President Chavez.
Very well. We will go ahead and take a roll call vote on approval of minutes, starting with you, President King.
Aye.
Vice President Chavez.
Aye.
And President Pro Tem Grant.
Aye.
All ayes, and this item is approved unanimous.
Thank you very much. Moving on to our agenda item number 1 from the Office of Community Beautification for all council district. Request to increase contract ceiling amount, various Office of Community Beautification contracts.
Good morning. Paul Roch with the Office of Community Beautification. As you are all aware, OCB maintains contracts with various nonprofit community-based organizations providing various services to help clean and beautify the city of Los Angeles. Such services include public right-of-way cleanup, weed and litter abatement, tree planting, tree maintenance, sidewalk improvements, and various other sort of as-funded projects. Funding for these various services may be part of the yearly OCB budget allotment, but also in many cases there are transfers from city council offices, and other city departments wishing to supplement and fund these types of services. There are currently 3 contracts that OCB is bringing to the board this morning, requesting approval to amend and increase the ceiling cap of these contracts. These contracts are about 1 year old and currently extend through June of 2027. However, the ceiling allotment has been nearly reached in these 3 contracts as various council offices have put in money, Clean LA funds have been put into them, City Plants has put money in. So just a combination of everything has got us very quickly to the ceiling cap on these 3. So we are requesting board approval to amend solely for the purposes of increasing the ceiling cap in the contract with the Los Angeles Conservation Corps, increasing the ceiling amount by an additional $25 million. Coalition for Responsible Community Development, increasing the ceiling amount by an additional $25 million. And Los Angeles Neighborhood Initiative, increasing the ceiling amount by an additional $15 million. It's our hope that these allotments should get us through the June 2027 period of those contracts. And finally, we are requesting a slight amendment to the board report. Unfortunately, we left off one small sentence in the recommendation portion that the Board of Public Works, and we left off subject to mayor's office approval, authorize the various contract amendments. So we would request that the board report be amended to include subject to the mayor's office approval. So again, we respectfully request approval and wish everyone a happy weekend coming up.
Thank you very much. Seeing that we do not have any single public comment, commissioners, if you have any questions, President Pro Tem Grant.
Thank you, Paul. The increased amount would bring the total to what? What is the actual total that?
So for CRCD and LACC, they started with a $10 million ceiling allotment. So that would bring them up to 35 million total. Lonnie started with a, I believe it was a $4 million cap. So the additional 15 would get them up to 19 million.
I also have a question. Do you, so thank you for bringing this item to board today. Our fiscal year is fast approaching. Do you anticipate another board item related to any other contractor?
Well, we have gone out to bid for the graffiti abatement services. We are currently working to put together that board report, and also that includes a transmittal of the proposed contract, which we're working on. We got some, or we're supposed to meet with the controller's office next week. They have some proposed language that they would like to see included in that contract. So we will be meeting with them to kind of discuss what it is. Once we have the contract in place and can include it as a transmittal, we will be coming to board probably, I guess it wouldn't be next week, but the following week, early in the week, with recommendations for the graffiti abatement contracts.
All right, thank you very much. Vice President Chavez.
Yes, yes, thank you, Paul, for bringing this. I know that there was a sense of urgency to get this because there's work, either imminent work or work that's already happened that I know the organizations were waiting to receive the notices to proceed before they could even invoice for the work. And so I appreciate that. I'm just wondering specifically to those notices to proceed, what happens to the pending ones? You know, when do you expect those to be able to be processed once this is approved?
Right. So we've gotten several notices to proceed out in the last week as we do approach the end of the fiscal year. I don't believe that there are any for work that's sort of already begun. It's more pending work that's upcoming and putting funding in to allow them to continue the work they're doing in July and August with the new fiscal year. So we do have more notices to proceed that we will be issuing some today. And then as soon as the contract goes through the entire signature and approval process, mayor's office, city attorney, finally to the president of the board, we can then encumber funds in with the increased ceiling cap amount.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Yeah, we do have about, I think, 4 city council transfers that have come in for funds. So with the current ceiling cap, we'll be able to get enough in to allow them to continue their work, through July and August. And then when the new contract comes in with the new ceiling, we can put the remaining amounts in.
Great. All right. Thank you.
All right. Seeing that we have no other comment, I'll move to, yes, Mr. Knight.
Real quick, sorry to interrupt you, President King. I'd just like to restate the verbal amendment, if that's all right with everyone. So I would recommend adding an item 4, refer to Mayor's Office for ED3 review, and then changing the current item 4 to 5, and have recommendation 5 be authorized the President or 2 members of the Board of Public Works to execute the contract amendments after approval as to form has been obtained by the city attorney and ED3 approval has been received by the Mayor's Office.
Okay. Thank you very much for that clarification.
That's fine with me. Thank you, TJ.
I'll move to approve item number 1 as amended. Is there a second?
Second.
Seconded by President Pro Tem Grant.
Very well, we'll go ahead and take a roll call vote on item 1, starting with you, President Kay,
Aye.
Vice President Chavez,
Aye.
and President Pro Tem Grant.
All right.
All ayes, and this item is approved unanimous, and we'll move forward as amended forthwith.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Moving on to item number 2, we have Bureau heads updates from 2 of our bureaus this morning. First up, we have a Bureau of Street Lighting represented by Director Miguel Sangalang.
My staffer refused to join next to me. So, good morning, everybody. Okay, just 1 second for full screen. Thank you. Good morning, everybody. Miguel Sangalang, Director of Bureau of Street Lighting, giving a quick update on, medium update on the Bureau of Street Lighting. I will cover a few different things, including our main service that we provide, obviously lighting, the expected kind of wait times that we have for repairs and some of the issues that we're faced with. As many of you recall, also during the budget deliberations that council had this past April and May, one of the things that I had mentioned is that we would be going out for a ballot where we'd be proposing to this board, mayor, and council the assessment ballot. I'll talk briefly about that. We hope to have a few things in place in order to proceed with that as well. So I'll glance over that quickly. Just to get to the punchline, this is a lot of words, but the kind of goldish area on the bottom, at the top, is what I'm going to focus on. Ultimately, this last sentence is what matters most. The average outage will take what we expect longer than a year to repair. Right now, the current response times for us, the time when we receive a service request from the public to the time that our crews are dispatched and is finally repaired, stands at around 8 to 9 months. With what we have as our resources for the upcoming year, with the growth that we see from the issue around theft and vandalism, and with the just general deferred maintenance that we've had to do, we expect that time to actually then extend beyond a year. I mentioned deferred maintenance. 2 of our major programs that support the service of street lighting, pole replacement and LED replacement, are essentially non-existent. We do not proactively replace any poles. We have around 1,100 or so that are already over the age of 75 years. That is our expected life expectancy for these assets. We have others that we know are failing. So there are parts of the city where we have actually stopped very popular programs like the banner program because we can no longer hang any banners on some of the infrastructure that we have. Separately, when I talk about LED replacement, that's I think what most people expect us to replace the bulbs, right, on the street lights. We have an expected, I think, 60,000 or so that are end of life. These LEDs are meant to last a long time. It is at that time now. We started the LED replacement program back in fiscal year 9-10 for the Bureau of Street Lighting. It's been a tremendous boon for us. It actually helps save $10 million annually on our power bill because of the program that we've instituted. But the life expectancy of those bulbs now are about 10 years. So some of these are now going on to 14, 15, going on 16 years old. They are dimming. They are expected to go out as well. Streetlight outages. This graph is just to show the issues that we've had that have been growing since July of 2021. The main punchline here is that we are around a backlog of about 30,000 open street lighting incidents. These open incidents, while we have not gone out to actually inspect what the true problem is, historical data shows that 40% of it is related to theft and vandalism. That has grown from a share of around a few percentage points. So 10 years ago, it was 3-4% of our total service request portfolio. 2 years ago, it was 25%. It's climbed to 40%, and we expect that to increase as well. Again, I don't want to distract from the fact that there's two issues. We have theft and time that continues to march on, right? So the issues of pole replacement, LED replacements, those are separate, but additive to the total problem that we have as well. Here's just a graph of theft and vandalism over the years. Up until fiscal year 16-17, we had an average of about 900 or so in previous fiscal years. That has steadily gone up. And every year, unfortunately, since we've had a new all-time high. It's not something we're proud of. It is something that we're facing. We're trying to do many different mitigation kind of strategies for it. I can go into that in a little bit detail. But just to date, with another month or so coming, and the data that we expect to be reported with last month's being added, we're already essentially at what we saw for the last fiscal year. We expect to go beyond that in the next month. Some context. The assessment is our main funding source. Most of it has been frozen since 1996, so going on 30 years. This is a levy or charge on properties that benefit from streetlights. As I mentioned, 90% of it has been stuck at 1996 rates. On average, the single-family home within the frozen rate structure pays about $53 on an annual basis. That is a little less than, or around $4 per month, essentially, that we're talking about. It is a vote of the property owners. It is not an electorate cycle. It is based off of a vote that is presented, a ballot that is presented on property owners that we mail out. We would be working with the city clerk and we would be working with the city clerk and obviously the board in order to mail those ballots out and then receive them. There's a 45-day kind of voting period, and I'll go into more detail about that shortly too. This page that I'm presenting to you is really just highlighting some of the issues that we've done in a basic dollar value. The CAO recently did a third-party study on our needs analysis. We created a needs analysis in 2022, and the study was recently completed. What you'll find in that study is that the CAO's office essentially agrees with 90% of what I had identified as our needs. They recommend a assessment of $111 million that is essentially 3 times larger than the current assessment value of $45 million. This then takes into account many of the things that we're facing now and starts reconstituting some of the programs that we've had to eliminate. Again, the pole replacement program was eliminated during the Great Recession 9-10 as a cost-saving measure, right? We haven't gone back, and now we're facing the issues around cost-saving measures that we've done nearly 15 years ago. This is a little bit more detail, again, on what I just mentioned with regards to the comparison between our needs report that we've done 3 years ago and the CAO matrix report. Most of the things are again, agreed upon. About 90% of the needs analysis is in alignment. The major differences are on solar, field technology, equipment, and customer service programs. I think one of the pieces that I would highlight is that we do believe that solar is going to be an integral strategy, not only for future theft and vandalism issues, but also for resiliency. We would like to have, as part of the portfolio, lighting portfolio, complete siloed systems, battery and solar enabled systems, so that if the power grid goes down, our streetlights remain on, right? So in cases, what we'd seen in emergencies or earthquakes, fires, etc., we would still be able to provide that service that could be used by first responders, right? So that's some of the things that we're trying to build into the future of street lighting as well. I mentioned the assessment, and again, this is a tentative timeline right now. What we're doing is working on a support contract for us that will allow us to, one, generate the requisite engineer's report, the formulation of the ballot, the mailing of the ballot themselves, and additional kind of information that we believe that people might be required. So it's website setup, etc. We're working on a contract to then present the board in order for us to move forward with it. That's the support contract. We're hoping to do that within the next month or so. In the summer timeframe, July, August, we're hoping to have not only the ballot timeline, the ordinances ready for us to present then to City Council to move forward with an actual vote. We would be asking for permission at that point. The timeline that I'm then presenting beyond there, where it's the fall timeline, ballots are mailed, that will depend on City Council's decision. This is our recommendation at this moment in time, to go for an October-November ballot timeframe, a January 1st effective date for the new assessment. And then finally, the last bit that you have there is that we will realize any of the revenues from the new assessment in fiscal year 26-27. So that'll be part of the budget process that we would have to go through in order to effectuate then the new programs that we're hoping to stand up. And with that, I'll close, and I assume there's questions around that as well.
Thank you very much. Commissioners, do you have any questions or comments?
I had a question regarding specifically solar lighting. I've heard you say this before, and I agree with you that that seems to be the best path forward in terms of addressing all of the issues, right? The cost, the maintenance, the theft. And I know in the past you've mentioned previously how you know, the expense is greater at the beginning, but over time it kind of pays for itself. I'm curious, what are the next steps in sort of, you know, going bigger with solar lights? Do you have a timeline? You know, what's kind of the plan moving forward on exploring that further?
We're actually coming up with a larger solar strategy as we speak. It has been for the past 2.5 years a pilot strategy. It's grown. We actually have around 600, I think it's 650 solar installations right now. It's only a fraction of a percent when it comes to the total street lighting network, right? We have 250,000 street lights, but it is growing. I see it as a tool in a suite of tools. And what I mean by that is, I don't believe we will get to 100% solar. There's going to be parts of the cities that it's going to be difficult, downtown, for instance, right, where you have skyscrapers, etc. So there's going to be areas where we can. There's going to be areas that we cannot. There's also going to be different, I think, needs that the city will have. For instance, one of the things that we have been reliant on are some of the sensor technologies, right, that we've deployed, including the smart city sensor technologies that we have that tell us whether lights are on or off. The solar technologies right now do not have that capability. So we're having to then kind of like work with the companies in order to engineer that into the system. So the technology is getting there. It's not yet there to be as pervasive as we would like. My goal, broadly speaking, right now, is to reach 5 to 10% of the system, right? To 1 in 10 lights will then at least be at for purposes of emergency solar, and then we would try and expand that as well. So residential areas, we would be looking to expand solar far more than we would in, say, commercial districts.
Okay, so but timeline, like you said, 5 to 10% by when do you think?
So that the timeline would be predicated by, unfortunately, the cost. So if you compare a regular streetlight and replacement of it, it would be around $400 to $500 for the streetlight itself. The solar light is 10 times more. In order for us to deploy the 200 or so solar lights, it costs us $1.5 million. So if we're getting into the percentages of getting to 20,000 or I'm sorry, 10,000 or so, that would be $40 million. We would need to start getting into that kind of larger discussion, and hence we need the assessment to actually start building that base in. If you're going to ask me again for a timeline, though, that is probably within the next 7 years or so.
But you said you're currently looking at, you said a master plan, or looking at including in your work plan, like what the solar light plan is going to look like long term. So you're in the process of developing that?
We're in the process of developing that. And again, I think our challenge too is that the engineering resources that we have, this is a change, right? We're going from one system to another. We're hoping that it maintains the standards that we have for illumination. And so there's actually a lot of other research that we have to do within there. So it will take additional engineering resources on our side in order to develop the full plan.
Thank you. President Pro Tem Grant.
Thank you, Neil. With respect to the copper wire theft, 2 questions related to that. One is, how successful has the new method of fortification proved to be? And secondly, are there any other developments in terms of being able to sort of impede or stop this sort of rise in theft?
Yeah. 2 things. One I'll say, the first thing I'm proud of, which is our the people that work on infrastructure protection, the field office, and engineers that all work on trying to solve the issue of theft and vandalism are the best at it in the nation now. We have other cities that call us looking for information on what we do. We obviously get a lot of interest as well from companies that are presenting new products that we might use, and we go and test all of those incredibly quickly. So I think we're the most versed when it comes to any type of kind of research or development of the actual strategy. The strategy itself, it's multi-pronged. We go from solar, right, and other technologies, sensors, cameras. We go to fortification. We're building the biggest castles, right? We're doing quick repairs. We're trying different metals in the ground now. We're redesigning, re-engineering how our plans are. So lots of these different things that are in there. I'll say that they're all successful in certain ways. One highlight that I will show is that fortification, where we take the entire circuit, we seal every single point of entry that we can, has actually been 90% effective, right? So when it comes to the opportunity crimes of someone going in there, opening it real quickly and cutting the wires and trying to pull it out, it's very effective. The challenge is that it's also costly, right? So the cost of trying to fortify a single street light is around $2,000. So that is where we have our issues, right? It is not as simple, I think, as most would imagine it to be. Our previous role predominantly dealt with changing the fixtures, but now we're actually rebuilding entire systems, right? And so that is our challenge. My estimates in previous years, it's probably gone up, but if we were to try and even approach a fortification strategy for the entire city, it would cost around $400 million and many years, right, for us to do it. So just the labor and materials alone on that one, it's nearly $500 million.
Thank you. Just following up on solar, there's been it's a very popular, as you know, it's a very popular item that the public and different council offices are requesting. So from the Bureau's perspective, how do you deploy or how do you select the neighborhoods or the communities that are being converted?
The demand on solar is far greater than our current capability, which is good because it's new technology, right? We were kind of wondering whether people would like it or not. They do. So that's a good thing. We have been prioritizing trying to cut down other maintenance expenditures for us. So how the best way for me to describe that is the things that we're trying to take into account is distance, drive time, the size of the issue itself, the number of times that we've had to go back into certain areas, right? So this is part of the reason why one of the first places that we went to was in the valley in CD6 to do Van Nuys area. It was around 100 lights or so that we'd done. We've since then done Watts neighborhood. We've done historic Filipino town. We've done also parts of Boyle Heights. We have plans to go also more into the valley in the near future. So we've been really taking into account how much it costs us on the other side of just our bread and butter regular type of maintenance, and taking that into account for how we deploy.
Okay.
One more question.
Vice President Chavez.
You know, I'm just curious what conversations you've had or kind of what potential partnerships are there with working with local communities and businesses, business improvement districts specifically, because I know how important, we all know how important lighting is, but specifically in business corridors. Is that something that you've looked at in terms of cost sharing for, fixing lights specifically in those business corridors? Because, that's such a high priority for them. Just curious if you've explored that at all.
The mayor's office has helped with facilitating kind of group meetings with, for instance, some of the bids in order to discuss some of these. I think we're always, it has led to some prioritizations and other things that we've worked on in collaboration with the mayor's office and the bids. Fundamentally, though, to your point there, we're always open to trying to figure out how to pay and how to do it as quickly as possible. In other services that we do, so one of the larger programs that we've had is co-location, where we have telecom equipment that is attached to street lighting that has helped make Los Angeles one of the first 5G cities in America. There have been instances where telecom companies have given us overtime in order to repair our lights and also get their system back on, right? So we're open to any permutation of trying to get the lights on as quickly as possible. If there's suggestions, I would love to follow up with that.
Okay, great. Thank you.
All right. Seeing that we have no other comments, thank you very much. Next, I would like to welcome Bureau of Contract Administration, represented by Director John Reamer.
Good morning. John Reamer, your Inspector of Public Works, the Director of the Bureau of Contract Administration, Commissioners, City Attorney, Executive Officer, and those here and those listening. I'm pleased to be here this morning. I thank you for the opportunity to share with you and the public what we as bureaus do and the services that we provide. As I thought about what I would present today, I thought I'd give an overview, a broad overview of who we are. The Bureau of Contract Administration, one of 5 active bureaus in the Department of Public Works. The other 4 you just heard from, street lighting, and then there's the Bureau of Engineering, Sanitation, and Streets LA. All 4 of those bureaus provide direct services under the areas that they're responsible for, be it the wastewater system, the design and implementation of projects for streets and buildings, the maintenance of sidewalks and streets, and then our street lighting system. So what does the Bureau of Contract Administration do? And many people ask when they hear the name. And we are responsible for ensuring that any work that the other bureaus do not do, those city employees responsible for the infrastructure that the city of LA has been tasked to be stewards over and take care of, when that can't be done by a city employee and we need to utilize a private contractor or work that is being done by someone that is a business owner or a property owner that encroaches into the public right-of-way, the Bureau of Contract Administration is responsible for making sure that that work is done properly, that it is done in a manner that is acceptable to the city. We have 3 areas that we focus on: quality, compliance, and opportunity. But in our past budget discussions, I like to refer to the fact that the Bureau of Contract Administration, we're also an agency that protects and serves as well. We protect the public when it comes to contractors who are doing work, making sure that they do not do it unsafely and they don't leave us with inferior construction. We protect businesses to make sure that in the procurement process, inequity does not take place and all businesses are afforded an opportunity to compete in the procurement process. And then what I want to speak to you on today is we protect workers from wage theft, making sure that they are not compromised and they're not taken advantage of when they do work on a city contract or in the geographical footprint of the city of Los Angeles. The Bureau of Contract Administration has been doing this for a long time, and there are 3 wages that we have been tasked with. We started this in 1971, and I've provided you a chronology of the 3 wages, one being prevailing wage, which I'm going to refer to under our regulatory powers. And I have the city attorney here to keep me on base in case I start to drift a little bit. The second being living wage, which we address under our proprietary powers. And then the third, which I'll spend more time on, is minimum wage, which we also address under our regulatory powers. Prevailing wage is typically a wage that is enforced when construction is being performed under a city contract. So the city of LA, we are not able to do it with our own forces. You, the board, you advertise for work. We receive bids, as you do on a regular basis here, and then we have a contractor that will ultimately be selected to do the work. When that work is performed, the state of California has said that any work that is performed utilizing public monies in the state of California, there is a wage that must be paid. And that is an attempt, I'm imagining, to preserve a level playing field, to make sure that when businesses engage, they're all engaging under a common environment, rules, and ordinances, guidelines, and people aren't taken advantage of. The federal government also has a wage as well, referred to as Davis-Bacon. So when federal monies are utilized, Davis-Bacon may apply. We typically will use the higher of the 2. In 1971, under ordinance, the Office of Contract Compliance in the Bureau of Contract Administration was established for the very purpose of, as we do have under our charter, our commitment to enforcing prevailing wages when construction is being performed under city contract. In 1998, we attempted to and were ultimately successful in being acknowledged and affirmed by the state of California as a state certified labor compliance program. What does that mean? That means that we are not only a bureau in the Department of Public Works, but when we are enforcing prevailing wage, we are actually acting as an arm of the state of California. We are affirmed by them to enforce the prevailing wage, and in doing so, any penalties that we generate from that, they remain with the city because, again, we've been affirmed by the state. There are only 4 agencies in the state of California that currently are viewed as what's called legacy agencies. We are one of the 4. There was a time there were many agencies that were operating and enforcing prevailing wage, but some time ago, the state decided they would do that on their own through their Division of Labor Standards and Enforcement, but they allowed legacy agencies. LAUSD is also one of those agencies to continue to enforce those wages, and we have been identified as one that does that. In 2008, we recognized the importance and the value of expanding our efforts to be successful in this area. So we launched what's called the Joint Labor Compliance Monitoring Program, where we partner with industry experts, be it union or non-union, but those individuals that have some familiarity with construction and proper wages, to not do the investigations, but to bring us information that would assist us in going about and finding those areas where we may not have known about, to ensure that workers are protected and they are paid properly. In that same span of time, we also launched what we refer to as our Labor Compliance Coalition. And we have labor agencies from all over the state come and we meet on a quarterly basis and we talk about best practices with respect to enforcing prevailing wage. And then lastly, for under prevailing wage in 2011, the state of California, they designated and identified the Bureau of Contract Administration as an agency that was allowed to enforce apprenticeship requirements on publicly funded projects. We are the only agency in the state outside of the Division of Labor Standards Enforcement with that authorization to do so. In 1997, the city decided that it also wanted to, under its service contracts, ensure that workers were compensated in what is referred to under the name itself, a living wage. And the Bureau of Contract Administration, under its Office of Contract Compliance, we were and still remain identified as what's referred to as the designated administrative agency. What that means is we are responsible for, in consultation with the Office of the City Attorney, putting together rules and procedures, almost said regulations, procedures, because that is proprietary, that govern how we are going to implement the ordinance that council came up with and the mayor ultimately signed. It pinballed back and forth between us and the city city administrative officer, and back in 2004 it came to be with the Bureau and it rests with the Bureau. Once a year that wage increases based on our going through a formula using the Consumer Price Index. This July 1st, the living wage will be $17.87. The last wage that we are responsible for, and this is also again under our regulatory powers, is minimum wage. Minimum wage is a new task assigned to the Bureau, and this is under our Office of Wage Standards. In 2016, the office was created as well as the ordinance itself. And the primary task was to ensure that any business geographically footprinted in the city of Los Angeles paid a worker a minimum wage that council established, the mayor affirmed. We, under the ordinance, inspect and enforce the minimum wage along with paid sick leave to make sure that any worker geographically located in the city of Los Angeles performing work, they are compensated at a minimum wage. So what that did was that took our bureau and this board outside of just covering contract related items to any issue in the city of Los Angeles as it relates to wage. Over the years, that office has received several ordinances, Fair Chance Initiative being one. Many may know it as that Ban the Box. Another, Hotel Worker Protection, Hotel Worker Minimum Wage Ordinance, which I'm going to settle in on and finish with, and then Fair Work Week, which is to make sure that those workers who are working with big box stores, over 300 employees, they have a known schedule, 14 days in advance. I provided you some statistics with respect to the Office of Wage Standards. Since its existence, over 1,300 complaints have come our way, resulting in over 830 investigations, 170 of which are still open. 33,000 inquiries have been responded to in less than a day. $926,000 in wage restitution are going to the employer, bringing to them the fact that we have received a complaint, talking to them about the complaint, and ultimately they are agreeing, yes, you are correct, and restituting the employee. 150,000 hours of paid sick leave recovered for over 4,300 workers, making sure that those workers who deserve to be able to take off and use their sick leave but weren't allowed to are being told about that, and we investigate, and that's the number. $273,000 in penalties collected for workers, and another $265,000 in penalties and fines that were collected and came to the city of LA. So that takes us to a topic that you may be very familiar with. It has been in the news lately. It's the citywide hotel minimum wage ordinance. The history of this ordinance is it was passed in 2014. And initially when it was passed as a private right of action only. So the Bureau, we primarily were responsible for just educating workers and businesses on what the ordinance said, but we didn't have any enforcement rights at all. So it originally rested in our Office of Contract Compliance under our Equal Employment Opportunity and Enforcement section. In 2022, we moved it over to our Office of Wage Standards in preparation for what we knew was coming, an ordinance that was going to increase the minimum wage as well as other areas of the ordinance itself. The new task that came to us was to investigate and enforce complaints of any violations associated with this minimum wage. The minimum wage is scheduled to increase this July as well. From its current $20.32, because it is higher than the city minimum wage, to $22.50. There's an asterisk that I'm going to speak to a little later. Our task is to administer and enforce hourly health care benefits, which will also be are also part of the ordinance, along with receiving financial hardship applications. And what do I mean by that? Businesses, hotels more specifically, that per the ordinance, they feel as though they have a hardship and they will not be able to comply with the wage itself. They submit to us a request to review their financial documents to determine whether or not they do indeed have a hardship. If we determine that they do have one, then for a year, they are given an opportunity to, I shouldn't say it that way, they do not have to comply with the ordinance as it relates to what it's asking. But until we determine that, they do have to comply with the ordinance. That did not rest with us initially. It was with the Office of the Controller, but the ordinance update is moving it over to our Office of Wage Standards. And then another element of this ordinance is to develop and implement a training component for the workers to make sure that they are educated and aware of what the ordinance provides for them, what their rights are, and where they can go if they have any concerns. This ordinance was passed recently by council, signed by the mayor, but a referendum was also filed by opponents of the legislation. The referendum, basically, the requirements of the referendum, and our city attorney can speak to it far better than I, requires 93,000 signatures that must be obtained by the 30th of this month. And if they do that, then it will qualify for the June 2026 election, I believe. If they do obtain the signatures, then what will happen is that our ordinance will go on hold with respect to the increase. It will remain at what would have been the calculated number based on the CPI of $21.01. So it will elevate from 2032 to 2101. If the signatures are not verified, then the new rate will be the $22.50, and it will continue to graduate as identified in the ordinance because this ordinance has calculated raises that don't include the CPI until we get to year 2027. And then the CPI will kick in, the consumer price index will kick in with the formula that we use to determine what the subsequent increase will be for the next year. As I stated earlier, for us, our goal will be to bring questions in and any concerns. We are working hand in glove with the Office of the City Attorney. We cannot do this without them. Kudos to that team and all of their efforts and assistance with this. We're in the process of drafting what I now will refer to as rules and regulations. We can say that under the regulatory piece. And looking at how we're going to implement the training component and preparing to, which we've already received, financial hardship requests. So yes, we've already received one request for financial hardship, and we're preparing to go through it. We will not respond to it until we know what the disposition of the ordinance is going to be, but we're moving aggressively to stay in front of this. In the budget, we received 5 positions. 5, I don't think will be enough, but given our economic condition, we're grateful for the 5 to get us started. And once again, under the banner of protecting and serving, we definitely see the value and the importance, and I believe you do as well, of ensuring that workers in the city of LA are protected. Unfortunately, this is needed. Unfortunately, we do have workers that are taken advantage of, and they do not have a voice, even though there are ordinances that we have that provide, as I alluded to earlier, this private right of action. These are our lowest paid workers, and for them to go through that process, it's daunting, it's challenging, and for many of them, they just walk away and don't do it. So I appreciate the men and women in the Bureau of Contract Administration, the Office of Contract Compliance, and in this case, the Office of Wage Standards, for their efforts to ensure that they represent those who cannot speak for themselves. And I don't say that to villainize business. Our approach has been to work hand in glove with labor and business because it takes both. Business cannot be successful without labor, and labor cannot be successful without business. And so ours has been to provide a bridge to make sure that there is a connection there. When we do receive complaints, our approach is to go to the business, not assuming they're wrong, but giving them an opportunity to communicate to us what they thought they were doing. We share with them what we've been told they're doing. Ask, may we take a look at your records? Let them see, you're wrong here. They acknowledge it, and we move forward. And our goal here is, even though I get there are some who would imagine, why can't we get more penalties? Our goal is to restitute the workers as quickly as possible, to make them whole, and not necessarily to build up a war chest of penalties that come into the city coffers. And I believe that our approach has been very effective. We've done this through outreach and education. Our team is phenomenal in doing that. We do have a bench of community-based organizations that assist us in that effort. Unfortunately, this upcoming fiscal year, that will not happen because we will not have the monies to do that. But we're still doing everything we can to make sure that we reflect and represent this board, this department, this city, to ensure that we protect the workers. I'm done.
Thank you very much, Mr. Reamer. Commissioners, President Pro Tem Grant.
Thank you for that. As one who was responsible or involved in the conception, formulating, developing, organizing, and supporting these measures from living wage to the Fair Work Week, I want to thank you for your work and let you share with you that I think a good part of this success, I mean, the living wage, as you recall, was groundbreaking in the country in terms of that. In fact, some of us even had questions whether or not it was legal at the time, since it was somewhat new frontier. But similarly, the confidence that I think we had in presenting these measures were in no small part, or they were in large part, to not use a double negative, to the thoroughness and effectiveness of your Bureau. There was a confidence that we had that it wasn't just throwing out a nice measure, but it was one that can, in fact, make LA a better place for so many people to live, and I want to thank you for that.
Well, I will say, Commissioner Grant, that the passion and the drive and the commitment of the city leaders. Again, this board, our council, our mayor, makes it possible for us to be able to do this. We recognize that our greatest asset are those who work and serve and make life better for all of us. So I just thank all of you for that support. Partnerships also have been very, very beneficial, especially with labor and knowing where we can go. I offer for consideration, especially those who are listening, this thought. When we identify and address those businesses that are treating workers poorly, it does two things. It gives that operation and that business an opportunity to fix that which is wrong, but it also affirms those businesses that are doing that which is right. Because those who are doing it right, they're at a disadvantage when they're trying to compete with those who are doing it wrong. So that's what we keep in the forefront of our minds. And I don't like to throw names out, but I have to, with respect to the Office of Wage Standard and Kimberly Fitzpatrick and the Office of Contract Compliance and Linda McGlinchey. Both of them are clearly committed to ensuring that our staff, they do all that we can, be it the prevailing or the living or the minimum wage, to protect the workers. So thank you for that support.
Thank you very much. Any other commissioners? I have a Vice President Chavez.
Thank you. Yes, thank you, John. I appreciate the overview and the history. You originally began as a quality control and contract compliance entity, and now are an institution that protects workers and businesses and the public interest. So that is quite the arc that you've gone through. But I wanted to ask a little bit more about engagement with communities. You know, what else can we be doing? How else can we convey this message? You know, because especially when it comes to workers, right? There's a lot of fear in that community about reporting things, and I know that your staff does a lot of work, but I'm just wanting to see kind of what you guys are doing and what more can we be doing, how we can support those efforts, either partnerships with community organizations, workshops, training sessions in communities, you know, using tools like social media strategies to make more awareness about workers' rights. I know you guys have materials, but, you know, it's a resource issue. You know, a lot of the money is going to the staff who are doing the investigations and collecting and doing the work, the actual work. So how can we just kind of create more shareable information that we can share with communities? Talk to me about that.
Excellent question, Vice President Chavez, and you've been a leader in this area for a long time. I'm going to go back to what I raised under the prevailing wage effort, and again, I'm going to do kudos again to the Office of City Attorney. We recently, under the banner of strategic enforcement, are finalizing a revisiting of our guidelines when it comes to joint labor compliance, making sure that we're dotting every I and crossing every T and not overstepping bounds of volunteer. Because many hands make light work, and our being able to partner with those who are aware of, and quite frankly, in the environment that we find ourselves, have a greater trust than we as a government entity will have with the community is critical. It's sad and unfortunate that many are being abused and they don't know where to turn. And so $5 an hour is better than nothing. And some of us can't imagine that, but that is the reality of some of our workers in this city. And so the partnership with, quite frankly, labor and those community-based organizations that have their fingers on the pulse, and we do try to get out, but I so appreciate it. I'm going to use my home scenario. My children will go to their mom before they'll come to me. It's not that they don't like dad, but they feel like they have a soft ear with mom. And we get the fact that workers feel more comfortable going to our community-based organizations. So that is what we've been doing. Building a much stronger, wider, and more robust bridge with our community partners, and letting them bring information to us, and helping them go out and spread the word that we are available. I mean, we have a website for those listening, wagesla.lacity.gov, but not everybody's necessarily going to go the electronic route, and because they don't, there's a trust issue right now with respect to government. So ours is so to appreciate the importance of staying out and engage with our community partners. And I'm believing that we've done that. I think that they would attest to the fact that our doors have been open for them to bring us things. In this current fiscal year, we did officially launch a strategic enforcement partnership with community-based group that's going quite well. And we do have partnerships with the Federal Department of Labor and the State Division of Labor Standards Enforcement, but you nailed it. It's really strengthening the relationship with the community, and we're committed to doing that as we give them information they share with others.
Mr. Reamer, thank you again for coming in. I have a quick question related to the Office of Wage Standards, the hotline. I'm assuming it is still active today. And how active is it in terms of the volume of calls that come in on a daily basis?
Ooh, I don't have that. I can get it to you.
No problem. But in
But
sort
it
of
is
your,
active.
yeah,
It is active.
it is active. Okay.
Yes, yes, yes.
And then I know we have the two languages, English and Spanish, but if, let's say, somebody else calls in and they don't speak those two languages, are there protocols in place to kind of help provide translation?
Absolutely. We on our website, we translate many of the ordinances into various languages. And when we were doing our outreach, 5 languages to be more specific, with respect to radio, and 9 languages for our in-print advertisements. But we try to cover as many bases as we can in-house, so that when someone calls, they are not pushed off to someone else. So yes, there's more than just English and Spanish.
And then I do appreciate your leadership in 23 when your department really pushed out this multilingual advertising campaign. Do we have any, I know funding is limited in the upcoming year, but do we have any plans to do a similar sort of outreach for any of the upcoming big announcements?
I want to. I don't have any money to, but I so get how important it is. I kind of light up when I see a bus drive by and there's the banner, or a bus shelter and there's the banner. So as we settle in and figure out where we're going to be going into the new fiscal year, you can't beat outreach and education. Enforcement has its place, but I like to argue I would rather fix it before it happens than address it after the fact. So I can't say yes, but I'm not saying no.
All right. Well, any other comments or questions, commissioners? Thank you very much.
Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, everybody. So we just wrapped up item number 2. Before we transition over to oral reports, I know we have some special presentation to honor 3 of our staff at LA Sanitation on their well-deserved retirement. So I'll be leading that presentation this morning. So I would like to call up to our speaker podium, Cecile Dominguez, 35 amazing years at sanitation, and Nita Abad, 35 amazing years, and Maria Price, 34 years. So colleagues, on behalf of the Bureau of Sanitation, I would like to honor three amazing public servants who have dedicated their many decades to the city of Los Angeles. So first, we have Cecile Dominguez, Chief Environmental Compliance Inspector 1 at the Bureau of Sanitation. Cecile, you want to come up? Congratulations on your many years of distinguished service and achievement in public service. Your professionalism and dedication to the Department of Public Works and the citizens of the City of Los Angeles is to be commended, with best wishes for your future health, prosperity, and happiness. So, congratulations. You can come up. You can come closer. And then next, we have Nita Abad. Am I pronouncing it correctly? Okay. Well, congratulations on your 35 amazing years once again. So on behalf of the Board of Public Works, congratulations. And then we have Maria with 34 amazing years of service. So congratulations.
Thank you, sir.
All right.
Thank you, sir.
Did any of you want to make any quick remarks or anything like that? Yes, sure, of course.
Board, thank you so much for giving me this certificate. I appreciate it. It's been a wonderful career for me. Now I'm a grandma, and my career is going to continue on the second life of my life. And so I wanted to thank you all for giving us this opportunity. All three of us started together, and I took off a year, but I'm glad I came back. It has been very amazing for all of us. Thank you.
Thank you very much. So before we take any more photos, I want to turn to my colleagues for any brief remarks. Any of you want to? Vice President Chavez.
Thank you for such an amazing career and lifespan and commitment to the city of Los Angeles. You all look way too young to be retiring, but I love that you brought your families, and I hope that you enjoy your family time. Take pride in all of the work that you did to make the city better, and enjoy your retirement. You earned it. So
Thank
congratulations.
you for giving me this opportunity. I did flourish a lot. I learned a lot, and I was able to contribute. My only son, Robert, his education, and now he's off on his own and very successful. And I appreciate that with his wife and his grandchild.
Thank you. President Pro Tem Grant.
Thank you also. I know you all have been through various administrations, changing demands, new challenges throughout your career. But throughout this, you have made LA better, and you've really been the guardians of a public trust that's been sort of behind the scenes and unsung. And not to say that your service hasn't been fun and exciting, but I can tell you that being a grandparent is going to be much better. So congratulations and best to you.
So congratulations again to all of our retirees. 35 amazing years. You will be truly missed at sanitation and here at the Board of Public Works. So we'll take a brief recess about 5 minutes to take a group photo with our commissioners, and then we'll come back and adjourn the meeting and wrap up the meeting as well. All right, Mr. Knight, would you like to reestablish quorum?
Yes, let me go ahead and put us back into, we're now back in record mode, and just to reestablish quorum and take roll, we have President Kang, Vice President Chavez, and President Pro Tem Grant in attendance. We do have a quorum. We're joined by City Attorney Representative Adina Hopenstan. I'm TJ Knight with the Board of Public Works. The time is 11:31 a.m.
All right, moving on to item number 3, oral report with specialized on-call maintenance service update from the Bureau of Sanitation.
Hello. Good morning, President King, members of the board, city attorney, bureau leaders, and general public. It's good to see you all again. My name is Trayton Dubois, and I'm an environmental engineering associate at Hyperion Water Reclamation Plant. I'm here today to provide an oral report for the specialized as-needed maintenance contracts awarded to Murray and ACO. To give a brief description of this contract, the specialized as-needed maintenance service contracts were awarded to Murray Plumbing and Heating Corporation and ACO Engineered Systems for the purpose of augmenting the Bureau's staff by providing maintenance support on an as-needed basis. The scope of work includes the contractors to perform a variety of maintenance services, including but not limited to refurbishment, renovation, modification, and replacement of various conveyance, mechanical, electrical, and process control systems. These contracts were established in July of 2020 for a total ceiling of $63 million, which include a 5-year term plus 2 2-year renewal options at the discretion of the city. For the fourth quarter of fiscal year 24-25, 1 project was initiated with Murray Company and 0 projects were initiated with ACO Engineered Systems. The total for the fiscal year to date is 9 projects initiated with Murray for a total of $903,696.21. 0 projects have been initiated with ACO Engineered Systems in fiscal year 24-25. The total amount invoiced to date by ACO Engineered Systems is $1,636,502.19, with 27% total achieved participation in the Business Inclusion Program. The total amount invoiced to date by Murray Company is $21,064,801.97, with 68% total achieved participation in the Business Inclusion Program. This concludes the oral report for the specialized as-needed maintenance contracts, and thank you for your time.
All right, thank you very much. Commissioners, do you have any questions? President Pro Tem Grant.
Thank you for that. With respect to ACO, I noticed that this year had 0 projects and they're almost 1/20th of what Murray received. Have they been active recently or have they sort of fallen off?
For the past year, they have sort of fallen off. Part of it has to do with the contract terms that prior to, I guess, the past couple of years, they were okay with it. And as they've gotten more and more projects that they've realized the markups are not in their favor all the time for certain projects, they've started to drop off. And they are not required to do projects for us, especially when Murray Company is able to jump in on it. So they have kind of dropped off in the past year or so.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Any other questions? Follow up to that. So I know we have the total contract ceiling of $63 million. Are we expected to hit that ceiling by the end of the term?
Of this 5-year term right now?
Of this 5-year term?
No, we're not expected to hit it by this, but we are, the renewal actually for one of the 2-year options is in place right now. So it is, I believe, at the step of executive signatures. So people like Barbara Romero. And then the next step would be actually a board briefing. And I think that is hopefully going to happen in the next 2 weeks, ideally, because this contract expires on the 8th of July this year. So the 2-year option would then extend that to 2027. So the next 2 steps are signatures and then coming here. And then we have another 2-year option after that. So it'd be 4 years after this.
Okay, so we will be initiating the 2-year extension.
Yes.
Okay. All right. I think we're good. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much. Appreciate it.
All right, moving on to item number 4, status update on major upcoming street improvement projects from the Bureau of Street Services. Mr. Nichols? It's always good to see you.
Good morning. Good morning. It's always a pleasure to be here and see everyone. Let's see. Let me adjust this here.
I know the mic is a little off today.
It's all right.
You can take it out of it if it's easier.
I think it's good. Can you hear me? All right. Good morning, President King, Vice President Chavez, Pro Tem Grant, City Attorney, Executive Officer, Bureau Representatives. It's good to be here again. It's always a pleasure. I'm here to provide information on major street projects with the City of LA, the Street Renewal Division. My name is Sherrod Nichols. I'm the General Superintendent 1 overseeing the Resurfacing, Reconstruction, and Slurry Seal Division. If you have any questions, you can always reach out to our coordinating section at 213-847-3200. Again, this information is to provide information to the community to minimize any delays. So for the Metro and Valley region, we are starting resurfacing for these two major streets, starting the week of June 11th through June 21st. We have Gage Avenue from San Andrews Place to Van Ness and CD8 in the Metro region. And also we have a project in White Oak, Valley Vista to Alonzo Avenue in CD4 in the Valley. We also have other projects throughout the city. For the week of June 8th through June 14th, we have 12 projects for 7.92 lane miles. And for June 15th through June 21st, we have 15 projects for 5.66 lane miles. These locations have been coordinated with LEDOT for any traffic concerns, and also coordinated with the council offices to provide information, and also the stakeholders. For any questions or anything, I can always be reached at 213-847-3200. And you can always email me as well at sherrod.nichols@lacd.org. Just want to provide some information on some of the green technology that we do to help maximize our green effect for the asphalt. I know we've had a visit to the asphalt plant. Our asphalt plant produces 50% material, meaning that we use 50% recycled asphalt pavement to produce our material. This minimizes the emissions and also the cost to produce asphalt. On the other side of it, our slurry seal, this year alone, we prevented 77,000 tires from going into the landfill, because with our slurry seal application that we do throughout the city, this year, trying to get these numbers right in my head. So this year, there are almost 400,000 tons of rubberized tire that we use throughout the city in order to maximize our opportunity to preserve the asphalt, citywide, with 6,500 center line miles throughout the city, or 23,000 lane miles that we have throughout the city. This helps to preserve our streets so that we don't have to resurface as often. Usually with slurry, we slurry 3 to 5 years to preserve the streets. So just, providing some green technology that our Street Renewal Division is doing to help, save cost with resurfacing and also slurry seal. And this concludes my report. Thank you.
All right. Thank you, as always, for your report. Commissioners, any questions, comments? Seeing that we do not have any single item public comment for this item, thank you very much and have a great weekend.
Have a good weekend.
Mr. Knight, does that clear our desk for today?
Yes, it does, President King.
All right. Our next meeting will be on Monday, June 9th, 2025. The meeting is adjourned at 11:41 a.m.